The afternoon appointment at Salon Prestigio in downtown Madrid was supposed to be routine, just like the dozens of other visits Cristiano Ronaldo had made to this exclusive establishment over the past 3 years. Ricardo Morales, the salon's master stylist, had been cutting Ronaldo's hair since his return to Real Madrid and had developed a reputation as one of the most trusted and skilled barbers in the city. His client list included politicians, celebrities, and business moguls, but none who were more particular about their appearance than Ronaldo, whose image was carefully crafted and maintained. Ash's athletic performance. Every haircut was planned with precision, taking into account upcoming photo shoots, media appearances, and the aerodynamic requirements of his playing style. Ricardo prided himself on understanding exactly what Ronaldo needed, often before the footballer even articulated his preferences. Today's appointment was scheduled for 2 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon, deliberately chosen because it was typically the salon's quietest time, allowing for privacy and the unhurried attention that Ronaldo's complex styling required. He had a Champions League match in 3 days, followed by a crucial Clásico against Barcelona. The following weekend, this appearance would be scrutinized by millions of viewers around the world and analyzed in detail by sports commentators and fashion critics alike. Ricardo had prepared for this appointment by reviewing photos from Ronaldo's recent appearances and consulting notes from their previous sessions to ensure continuity and perfection in the styling process that had become his signature look, a precisely faded undercut with longer styled hair on top that projected both athletic prowess and sophisticated elegance. Ronaldo arrived at the salon exactly on time, wearing designer sunglasses and a casual but expensive tracksuit. His security detail remained outside while he entered through the salon's private entrance, a routine that had been established to minimize disruption to their clients and maintain the discretion that both Ronaldo and the salon valued highly. Ricardo greeted him with the professional warmth that had characterized their relationship from the beginning, and they began their usual consultation process, discussing any changes Ronaldo might want and reviewing the upcoming schedule that would determine the practical requirements for his hairstyle. Ronaldo mentioned that he wanted to maintain his current look, but perhaps make it slightly sharper around the edges and a bit more defined in the fade pattern. Nothing dramatic, just subtle refinements that would photograph well under stadium lighting. As Ricardo began the cutting process, everything proceeded normally for the first 15 minutes. The initial trimming and shaping went exactly as planned, with Ricardo working with the confident precision that had made him one of Madrid's most sought-after stylists. Ronaldo was relaxed in the chair, scrolling through his phone and occasionally making casual conversation about football training, his business ventures, and upcoming travel plans. The atmosphere was comfortable and professional, with the kind of easy rapport that develops between service providers and clients who have worked together successfully many times. Ricardo was using his preferred scissors, expensive German-made pair that he had owned for over a decade and maintained with obsessive care because he believed that superior tools were essential for superior results. The mistake happened in an instant during what should have been a routine adjustment to the fade on the left side of Ronaldo's head. Ricardo had been working on gradually blending the shorter hair into the longer sections on top when his concentration was momentarily broken by the sound of his assistant dropping tray of styling tools in the back of the salon. The brief distraction caused him to angle his scissors differently than intended, and in one quick motion here moved significantly more hair than he had planned, leaving a visible gap in the fade pattern that completely disrupted the symmetry and balance of the entire haircut. The moment Ricardo realized what had happened, his stomach dropped and his hands began to shake. She assessed the damage and tried to figure out how to fix what appeared to be an unfixable mistake. Ronaldo noticed the change in Ricardo's demeanor, immediately sensing the tension and looking up from his phone to see his barber's pale face in the mirror. "What's wrong, Ricardo?" he asked, and when Ricardo hesitated to respond, Ronaldo turned his head to look at the left side of his hair in the mirror. The reaction was immediate and unmistakable: shock, followed by disbelief as he saw the uneven fade and the obvious gap where too much hair had been removed. "Ricardo, what happened to my hair?" he asked, his voice rising with a mixture of confusion and growing alarm. The professional relationship that had been built on trust and consistent excellence was suddenly in jeopardy over a split-second mistake that could potentially affect Ronaldo's appearance for weeks. Ricardo's response was a mixture of profuse apology and desperate problem-solving as she tried to explain what had happened while simultaneously assessing options for correcting the mistake. "Cristiano, I am so sorry. I was distracted for just a moment and I cut too much off this side," I can't try to even it out by cutting the other side, or we could use some styling products to disguise the difference until it grows back, or maybe we could try a completely different style that works with what we have now. His suggestions tumbled out in a rush of nervous energy. But even as he spoke, both men could see that none of these options would restore the precise look that Ronaldo had maintained for months, and that had become part of his visual brand. The damage was too significant to hide, and too asymmetrical to easily correct. What happened next surprised everyone in the salon, including Ricardo, who was bracing himself for an explosion of anger or demands for compensation, instead of erupting in fury. Ronaldo sat quietly for several moments, studying his reflection and considering the situation before responding with a calmness that seemed almost supernatural given the circumstances. "Ricardo, how long have you been cutting hair?" he asked, and when Ricardo answered that he had been a professional stylist for over 20 years, Ronaldo nodded thoughtfully. "And in 20 years, how many mistakes like this have you made?" Ricardo admitted that this was the first time he had ever made such a significant error with any client, let alone someone as high profile as Ronaldo. The honesty of his response seemed to resonate with the footballer, who continued his line of questioning. "Ricardo, do you think I became the best football player in the world by never making mistakes?" Ronaldo asked, his tone becoming more philosophical than accusatory. "Do you think I never missed a penalty, or lost a match, or had a bad training session where everything went wrong?" Ricardo shook his head, uncertain where this conversation was leading, but grateful that Ronaldo wasn't screaming or threatening to sue the salon. The difference between good players and great players isn't that great players never make mistakes. It's that great players know how to recover from mistakes and learn from them so that they become even better. Ronaldo's response was transforming what could have been a disaster into a teaching moment that would change both men's perspectives on perfectionism, failure, and resilience. Instead of demanding that Ricardo fix the problem immediately, Ronaldo made a decision that stunned everyone present. "Ricardo, I want you to cut all of my hair very short. We're going to start completely over with a new style, and we're going to do it together so that you can show me what you're thinking at each step, and I can show you that I trust you to make me look good, even after making a mistake." The request was so unexpected and generous that Ricardo initially thought he had misheard, but Ronaldo's expression made it clear that he was serious about this radical departure from his usual approach to hairstyling. The decision would mean abandoning the carefully maintained image that had become synonymous with his brand, but it would also demonstrate a level of confidence and adaptability that went beyond mere appearance. As Ricardo began cutting away months of careful styling to create a completely new look, the atmosphere in the salon shifted from tension and embarrassment to something approaching excitement and creativity. Ronaldo offered suggestions and feedback throughout the process, treating Ricardo as a collaborator rather than a service provider who had disappointed him. They experimented with different lengths and styling techniques, eventually settling on a much shorter, more textured cut that was completely different from anything Ronaldo had worn in recent years, but had highlighted his facial features and projected amateur sophisticated confidence that was both unexpected and striking. The transformation took over 2 hours, but the result was a look that was fresh, modern, and distinctly different from the styles worn by other footballers. When the cutting and styling were finally complete, Ronaldo studied his reflection from multiple angles and smiled with genuine satisfaction. "Ricardo, this is better than what I had before," he declared. "Sometimes the best things happen when we're forced to try something completely different, instead of just making small adjustments to what we've always done." His response demonstrated a level of wisdom and perspective that impressed everyone present and transformed what could have been a professional disaster into a moment of growth and discovery for both men. The new hairstyle would go on to influence men's fashion trends across Europe and establish Ricardo's reputation as an innovative stylist rather than someone who had made a costly mistake. The story of the haircut mistake and Ronaldo's gracious responses spread throughout Madrid's styling community and eventually reached the international press, where it became an example of how true professionals handle unexpected setbacks with grace and creativity rather than anger and blame. Ricardo found himself busier than ever as clients specifically requested appointments with the stylist who had accidentally created Ronaldo's most talked-about looking years. His business expanded significantly, and he eventually opened a second salon. With Ronaldo's endorsement and financial backing, their professional relationship deepened into a genuine friendship based on mutual respect and the shared experience of turning a potential disaster into a triumph. Ronaldo wore his new hairstyle to the Champions League match 3 days later, where television commentators and fashion analysts praised the bold change and speculated about what had inspired such a dramatic departure from his usual look. He scored a hat trick in that match and afterward told reporters that sometimes changing your appearance can help you see the game differently and approach challenges with a fresh perspective. The comments sparked discussions about the psychological aspects of image and performance among athletes and led to several academic studies about their relationship between personal style and competitive confidence. His willingness to embrace change and take risks with his appearance became part of his larger narrative about adaptability and continuous improvement. Years later, when Ricardo published a book about his experiences as a celebrity stylist, he dedicated an entire chapter to the afternoon when a simple mistake led to one of the most important lessons of his career. Cristiano taught me that expertise isn't about never making errors. It's about how you respond when things go wrong and whether you can turn setbacks into opportunities for growth. He wrote, "That day I learned more about professionalism and character from my client than I had learned in 20 years of cutting hair." The book became a bestseller, and Ricardo became a sought-after speaker at business conferences, where he shared the story of how Ronaldo's response to a haircutting mistake had transformed his understanding of customer service excellence and creative problem-solving. The incident so influenced Ronaldo's approach to other aspects of his life and career, making him more willing to take calculated risks with his playing style, his business ventures, and his public image. He often referenced the haircut story in interviews when discussing the importance of adaptability and resilience, telling young athletes that success comes not from avoiding mistakes, but from learning how to recover from them quickly and completely. That day in the salon taught Meth that sometimes the best thing that can happen to you is having your plans disrupted because it forces you to discover possibilities you never would have considered otherwise, he would say. And often those discoveries turn out to be better than anything you had originally planned. The lesson became part of his mental approach to high-pressure situations, where unexpected developments required quick thinking and confident decision-making, both on and off the football pitch.